Hello guys and welcome to Ride VIP the Rideshare channel. In today's video I'm going to be going over some news about Uber and drivers getting fined for actually driving for Uber, which will show you that Uber doesn't necessarily cover you when you actually sign up for Uber. They don't have all the proper licenses for you to be operating. And depending on your state, depending on your city, depending on your county, all the regulations are different. So they're changing from state to state. Like I, for instance, look in South Carolina. I live in South Carolina, so I basically operate out of South Carolina and in North Carolina. But one thing actually kind of stood out to me last year when I rented an Uber. Um, an Uber Tesla from Hertz, they said you can't drive in South Carolina as an Uber driver. So they told me you cannot drive in South Carolina as an Uber. And I was kind of thinking, well, that's weird. Then why is Uber sending me requests to pick up people in South Carolina, the Uber app itself? So basically, technically, as an Uber driver, I was not allowed to work in South Carolina. Was that according to Hertz, or was I somehow like breaking the law? I did not know. But anyways, I went according to the Uber app and actually I continued operating as such. But anyways, over here, we're just gonna look into one of the a first video out of many videos like this to come for various states. Instead of now telling you guys what I'm doing, I decided to just uncover what Uber drivers are getting fined for in different type of places for not having proper licenses that you work in Uber. And I already read this article. I know what it's about. It's actually drivers that think that just because they sign up for Uber, they have the proper insurance and stuff like that, like they were in the clear. But instead, they're getting fined because Uber does not have licenses for you to work there. And then for you to work there, this video will explain to you what licenses you need to get. But you need to check with your city, your state, your county, wherever you're operating, because it's all different all over the place. And this is why I chose not to mention what licenses I have and what I don't have, because I never actually intended my stuff to be as an advice. Therefore, I have actually removed my videos because they're being taken out of context. You guys have like no proof or evidence of me like doing anything incorrectly. And I did not show you what I did. I only told you what I was doing. Did not tell you what licenses I have. For that reason, because every license is different. So you can't say, well, he has such and such, that means I'm good because I have it, because that may not apply to you, or you may need something else. But anyways, let's get into the video. Just want to very quickly tell you guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just like read the stuff to you. Sorry if my reading's not that good, but anyways, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Uber drivers continue to be cited for not having all the required licenses to operate in Myrtle Beach. Representatives with the city of Myrtle Beach since July 2014 have said Uber is not allowed in the city from the start. If you were to open an app and request a driver, one would be picking you up in no time. But the city policy has recently changed. So as you can see here, look, Uber will give you a ride for Myrtle Beach and all these different locations, yet you're technically not allowed to work. So Uber was breaking rules from the start. This is how they made it happen. So I'm kind of proud of Uber because they open up opportunity for us drivers to work. But just because it's Uber and it's a rideshare type of platform, it's a platform. It's a business that's open. You could start your own platform. You could start your own business. Just because you started it doesn't necessarily mean you have all the proper licenses. Depending on where you work, you will need different type of licenses. And Uber apparently did not or does not have proper licenses for Myrtle Beach. Whether that is still true, that remains to be seen. But anyways, according to this article, they don't. And then they tell drivers basically what you need to do in order to get it here. So anyways, if the driver gets the right licenses, Uber is now perfectly legal in the city of Myrtle Beach. Okay, see, you need proper licenses. Did Uber tell me I need proper licenses to do stuff in Myrtle Beach? They did not. Nobody's nobody spoke to me about it. Is there in fine print somewhere that nobody reads? Who knows? What's important is that the city will in fact give you one of those licenses if you apply and have all the right paperwork within Myrtle Beach. Police department says this changed sometime in mid-February. Since then, Myrtle Beach has issued one business license to an individual that operates as an Uber driver. So this individual that operates for Uber as a driver got his own license. That means now he can operate privately as well. Just because he works for Uber, he did not have the right, but he needed to get this license. So he decided to get licensed. You see? And I believe that one of the reasons that Uber is not pushing you to get your own licenses, first of all, when you get your own license, well, now you could operate freely. Second of all, they'll get a lot less people that's going to work for their platform because everybody's got to go out and get licenses. They're going to have to open up their businesses. They're going to have to get EIN numbers. And when I say businesses, I'm talking about get your own like LLC or S corporation or something that, protects you. Get EIN numbers so you could pay the proper taxes, get proper documentation and proper insurances so that you could actually operate in that state. So all of this stuff is necessary. And I read some of the comments earlier. Like, it's just like, I just think like some of these people, they just click on the video and they go off that title and they make an assumption like right away. So I actually, well, anyways, I've been working for 14 years as a delivery driver for my own business with my own LLC, my own authority, my own commercial insurance. And it's funny to me to read comments. Oh, he doesn't have commercial insurance. He can't afford it. He does not even have the proper vehicle to be working for Uber. I have a bunch of vehicles. I choose not to use them because financially, a Tesla rental makes a lot more sense. A Tesla purchase makes a lot more sense. So it's funny to me to like find out like, oh, he doesn't have it. I have it. Since then, Myrtle Beach has issued, okay, so the Uber battle has been raging since July, when the rideshare service announced it would start picking up riders in Myrtle Beach and a few other South Carolina cities. Governor Nikki Haley says it is legal in the Palmetto State, but last summer. Okay, I just don't want to read this. Okay, the spokesperson for the city of Myrtle Beach first stated that it is not legal within city limits to operate as an Uber driver because the company did not have the necessary licenses and certificates within the city. You see, guys? You see what I was telling you in the previous videos? By the way, I removed these videos so you guys don't take me out of context. And I said to you, this is the style of videos that I will make. I will point out the flaws that these companies have. And I'm not trying to basically like hurt them in any way. But what I was saying, it is true. These companies, they pushed through. They did stuff illegally. They covered any of the drivers' legal fees if they got fined by the, like city and stuff like that. They just basically flat out and just start doing it. And surely a lot of taxi drivers, lost their businesses because they paid a lot for those medallions, especially in New York. And I feel bad for them. But, sometimes a big behemoth, company, they open up, lots of investors, billions of dollars, they could do whatever the heck they want, and they feel like they're unstoppable because there's just so much money. They could pay those fines easy. They're making so much more in the process. And you'll see how low these fines are. So like even as a personal driver, like you would be making a lot more to you easily cover those fines. That does not mean you should be operating without a proper license. But what you will see is that this is Uber drivers getting fined. Well, let's continue. That all changed sometimes in February 2015. As long as the business has a business license and then operator has a valid chauffeur's permit, then they're allowed to operate as an Uber driver and an Uber business within the city limits of Myrtle Beach, says Crosby. As you can see, I don't live in Myrtle Beach, okay? However, I am in Myrtle Beach right now, so I decided to just pull Myrtle Beach up just to see like what is the regulations here. So as you could see, Uber tells you gotta have a chauffeur's license technically to work as an Uber Black driver and only then get commercial insurance. But the fact of the matter is, you should be getting that from the start. As a regular Uber driver, you need to have that stuff, and you'll see what else you need. Continuing on, be warned: if you do not get the right licenses, you're still liable for some hefty fines. This was proven by the two recent citations from Monday's night. Police responded to a parking lot at Broadway at the beach after a caller reported two drivers were operating illegally. You see, some caller reported, like, wow, they're illegal because they read the news. They turn them in right away. It's like, poor drivers, they're trying to make money. They're working for Uber. They got their Uber probably sticker. They following all the directions, thinking they're doing nothing wrong. And then somebody calls them in. But anyways, this will turn hairy in a second. Uber drivers were cited. Each citation holds a fine of $1,092. And these are people working for Uber, getting cited, getting jobs in Myrtle Beach, thinking they're okay, getting those $3 rides, getting those $5 rides, probably here locally. One of the two drivers was also arrested, one of the two, because the MBPD officers ran his license. It showed an active warrant. Look at that. Uber hiring criminals for a breach of trust. Andrew Masona was issued a costly summons for not having a business license. You see that? Not having a business license. Oh, you're working for Uber? You don't have a business license? Well, sir, I'm working for Uber. Don't they have a license? No, you need a license to operate. That's just a name. That's Uber. That is a company. Oh, I thought I'm legal. You're not legal. You need a license. And as a matter of fact, you need a license in Myrtle Beach to operate. I didn't know that. I thought I'm working for Uber. Masona told the judge that he believed his insurance and signing up through Uber covered any necessary licenses. You see that? That's still up for debate between the city and the company. See, that's just how it goes, Like Uber's gonna be trying to debate. They're gonna have their lawyers, blah blah blah. They're legal, this and that. But the state and the city, they're setting their own little rules and regulations. And they say the driver needs a chauffeur's license. He needs to have a business open. He probably has to pay some, depending on where he's located. Sometimes you have to have a city license for businesses. If you're in a county, you may not need a city license. So you have to look at all of these different facts, and depending on what areas you operate. It's really, when I looked into it before, it's really interesting. It's not that easy. So in order for you to even grow like a big company like Uber, initially you just break bunch of rules and then make bunch of money, and then slowly but surely start getting some of those licenses. Or maybe just wait till some drivers get caught. Maybe they get kicked off the platform. They hire a few more and just keep on going. After all, the driver is responsible for this fine, not Uber. Okay. All right. So what really got some people talking was the fact that the driver was arrested for an active warrant. Police says the warrant was for breach of trust, but during a hearing Tuesday, Masota, what a weird name, representation told the judge that in fact the warrant was from back in January 2014, and it was rectified within 24 hours. The judge set two separate court dates for two issues. Uber prides itself on doing background checks on every driver and providing detailed information to riders before they even get into the car. With Uber Technologies provided this statement: this driver has been deactivated from Uber's platform pending the final outcome of his arrest. In a way, I don't know, some kind of breach of trust, right? This guy got some word, doesn't sound serious, right? Uber still lets him work. Now this guy gets arrested for that warrant, right? And it's somehow that other guy's fault. Uh, he gets arrested while working as an Uber driver. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, it makes sense, right? But Uber should have like never hired him in the first place if he's got an active warrant. But then again, he would have never been arrested, probably, or fined if he had the proper paperwork, which he didn't. And I guess upon further investigation, they realized he's got warrants. Uber spokesperson Taylor Bennett says the company fully supports the drivers and Uber will cover any cost when the driver are unjustly cited by law enforcement. Nothing has been decided in Masota's case. So, as you could see, and this is what I told you before, Uber drivers were getting fined before for taking people from place to place, like sometimes like $500 fines. And that was like per violation, per rider. And we as drivers don't even make that much per rider. And Uber in the beginning was just like paying those. They were just paying them, you know. So, yeah. If you're looking to get the correct paperwork to operate as an Uber driver in Myrtle Beach, you need a chauffeur's permit and a business license. For that permit, you need to go to the police department where you'll get an application, fill that out, then bring that back to the police annex within validation of 10 years driving history and criminal record check. That record check will cost $25 from SLED, and that is normal. That is like for any businesses. I ran my stuff through SLED as well. Basically when I started my business, and you have to file that stuff. Yeah, that's just basically like everything you're just looking at. That's like when you're starting your own sort of like rideshare company, but you have a choice. You want to work for Uber, you want to work for Lyft, you want to do your own stuff. Doesn't mean that Uber owns the business. You still need to get in business and get all the proper stuff while working for Uber, because Uber does not have all the necessary stuff for you to operate. Once you churn all that in, the chief of police will go over everything and determine if you can get a permit. Once you get a permit, you'll head to a city hall to put in official application for a business license and then pay an application fee. That fee is based on an estimate of how much you'll make and whether you're located inside or outside the city limits. You see, that's what I was talking about. Inside the city limits, the fee starts at $145. Outside the city limits, it starts at $220. After paying that, the city will then look over your paperwork to determine if you can get a license. Keep in mind, paying that fee does not necessarily mean you will be approved, but it will be refunded if the license cannot be issued. So that is all for now, folks. Hope you like this video. Let me know if you want to see more styles of these videos, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions. You know, you guys think if somebody does private rides, somehow you're doing it illegally, but you are doing it illegally right now if you don't have the proper stuff, okay? And if you want to find out, like, for sure, you got to look this stuff up. But if you want me to look up specific city or state, write me in the comments below, and I'll do like a video like this. I'm sure I'm going to get a little bit better at it, but I think there's nothing better than just go ahead and actually read the whole thing. That way you don't have to look it up, and maybe do some commentary and stuff like how I feel about it. But I knew this stuff like from the start. I did my research. As a matter of fact, like when I looked when Uber was starting and stuff like that, I watched all the documentaries and stuff. I know exactly what went on. Like, you know, it was interesting to me. You know, I like the fact that they, you know, stood up to the government, you know, about their business and pushed through and, you know, basically started doing it somewhat legally. But that does not change the fact that once they're already operating as an Uber, a multi-billion-dollar company, still many drivers are illegal. So you're telling me I'm doing something illegal, you're doing something illegal actually, and if you don't have all this stuff as an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, that does not change the fact. So I actually think Uber is actually following a lot more regulations now, but Lyft doesn't. I think Lyft does not even have enough money to basically cover additional type of licenses. Imagine if they had to pay for each driver for that license. And according to this, like you could see the city, police and stuff, once they run your background check for like 10 years, and they actually try to decide, will you even be able to operate? You see, it's not just by like criminal record. They decide whether or not to give you a license. If they decide not to give you a license and you're working for Uber, well then, yeah, you're gonna be like refunded, right? But you can't continue working for Uber because you're not approved. So you have to get the stuff from the start. And I made some videos, I don't know if I post them, that you do need either like a taxi license or some kind of chauffeur's license, which is kind of like a limo's license. But we definitely need sort of like a chauffeur's license. And that's basically what you need. And that's what I have. But I'm not going to share with all the details how and what like I went about doing, because again, I understand it's going to get taken out of context. Someone's going to say, oh no, you don't have it. But you could also say the same thing I could actually say the same thing for my videos that I post on YouTube. I could be just telling you guys just whatever, right? Just to make videos and you'll believe it. Or I could be telling you the truth and maybe you're not going to like it. Maybe you don't like me and then you decide to have your own opinion. But if you're working as an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, look into what you're actually doing and see if you're legal before you try to decide if I'm doing something illegal, which I'm not. And I would not talk about it if I was. But with that being said, I don't want like anybody trying to dig up my stuff. And this is why I don't provide none of my information, like none of my insurance companies that I use. I don't provide like my cell phone providers. As you can see, I don't have like my personal information here, So it's like, okay, good luck trying to look for me. But anyways, good luck to you guys. Take care of yourself and see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.